الرحمن الرحيم Next slide please. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Okay, so in the previous session, we discussed about the Hajj, generally about the Hajj, and we talked about the wudu and the ghusl, because wudu and ghusl are a part of the Hajj. You need to be in the state of wudu to do tawaf. You need to be in the state of tahara, meaning if there's anything that happened to you that requires ghusl, you cannot enter into Masjid al-Haram if you need to do ghusl. A mujnib person or a lady that is ha'id or a lady that is on her istihada, depending on where she is, she cannot enter into Masjid al-Haram or into Masjid al-Nabi. And these are very important rules that limit where you enter and how you enter, and you can't do tawaf while not in the state of wudu or ghusl. So this is wudu and ghusl, and we discussed in the last session prayer. Now we want to go to the next points that we're going to discuss, and that is understanding taqleed and follow your marja', prepare an Islamic will, and I've sent out the Islamic will, and we're going to share it. Can we please share it on the group as well when I talk about it? And then we're paying out our outstanding religious dues and seeking forgiveness from others. And then if we had time, we're going to talk about Medina, when we enter into Medina. So inshallah, we will begin with that. First of all, to do the Hajj or to do any act of worship, to do any act of worship, you want to make sure that you are worshiping the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to worship, right? Because worship is what God is asking me to do, not what I want to do. Iblis, shaitan, he told Allah, I will worship you, but not the way that you want. Let me pray however I want. I don't want to bow to Adam. Allah tells him, "A'budni haythu urid, la haythu turid." Worship me the way I want, not the way that you want. Can I come and say, for example, Fajr prayers, 4 rak'ahs, and Dhuhr prayers 2, and this and that? No, we do it, it's ta'abbud. And a lot of the Hajj has to do with ta'abbud. What is ta'abbud? Ta'abbud is ibadah, meaning they tell you walk between Safa and Marwa. I say, it doesn't make sense to me to walk between Safa and Marwa. This is ibadah, this is worship. It makes sense to you to believe in God. Now that you've believed in God and you've submitted to God, now you have to do that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to do. So, in order to do our ibadah correctly, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything in the right way, in the way that it's supposed to be. So what are my options? My options here, one is I go and I become an expert in Islamic law. I go, I study for 10, 20, 30 years in the Hawza. I become an expert in Quran, in Arabic, in Hadith, in the chains of narrations, in the history of Islam. And then you say, this is the way that you do things. That's it. You became an expert. A mujtahid, the person who's reached that level of knowledge, this person does not do taqleed because they have already reached their own conviction. That's one. Second option is to perform precaution in all matters. All matters, you take the path of ihtiyat. So, for example, someone says tomorrow is Eid. The other person says, no, tomorrow is Shahr Ramadan. Here, you have to fast, but you have to do something in a way where you're not breaking the rules. You have to know the laws of Islam. You have to always take, someone says, one marja' says this is halal, another marja' says this is haram. You have to always take the precautionary route. You stay away from something because that's the precautionary route. And this requires a level of knowledge. The third option, which is the easiest and the most simple of answers, is, and it's common sense, and that is that you follow an expert. Not following an expert in aqeedah and belief, the belief in God, the belief in the Prophet, the belief in the Imams, all of this, we are not required to follow. We can't follow anyone. I have to have conviction in matters of faith. But in matters of furu' ad-din, meaning salah, zakat, hajj, khums, all of these things, I'm not an expert in Islamic law, so I come and I resort to the expert. The same way, if I have a health issue, who do I go to? I go to the doctor. If I want to build, I go to the engineer. If I want to anything in life, common sense tells us you go to the experts in that field. And this is exactly what we are doing. So you have to have a marja. Some people, they come and they say, I want to go to Hajj, but I don't have a marja. You have to pick a marja, meaning a scholar that you follow. Who can I follow? One of the known maraja, as long as there are two experts in the field, two of those who have reached some level of knowledge. They don't have to be maraja, but someone who is on the way to ijtihad. They tell you, I trust this person as a marja. You could follow this person as a marja, then that would be safe enough for you to follow this person. So you follow someone who you believe is the most knowledgeable, someone who two just witnesses, they come and they say, I trust that this person is a mujtahid. And something very important, follow someone who you could actually access their rules. Maybe someone is the most knowledgeable, but I have no access to this person. How's this person going to help me? You follow someone who you have access to this person's rules and ahkam. And the known names of the maraja right now, they are known. You know them, and you're following them. As long as you're following one of these maraja and Islamic laws, if there are issues, you're not sure, tell me who your marja is. I will tell you what are the ahkam. In the Hajj, most of the ahkam are similar. Most of the ahkam are the same. However, there are some issues. There are some issues. For example, when we are wearing our ihram for the first time, we're going to be in Medina, going to Mecca. Now, one of the muharramat, one of the things that a person should not do during the ihram is the men should not travel while being covered. So, for example, and then here regarding this issue, all the maraja, they say during the day, if the men are traveling while their head is covered, meaning you entered into a bus, you entered into a room or a car that is moving. All the maraja, they say for the men during the day, if we're traveling while our head is covered, what do we have to do? We give a kafara. Kafara means slaughter one sheep. These poor sheep, Allah ya'inhum. But so what do? Some scholars, like right now, Sayyid Sistani, for example, Sayyid Khamenei, Sayyid Fadlallah, they say you're allowed to travel at night, because the whole reason why you're not traveling during the day is because you're not supposed to protect yourself from the sun. At night, there's no sun. So they come and they say you're allowed to travel at night. And if you travel at night, then you won't be needing to give a kafara. Now for the women, they could travel during the day covered or at night covered. There's no issue. This is only an issue that has to do with the men, because the men, they can't cover their head as well. You have to remove any head cover during the state of ihram. So, but there are some scholars, like for example, Sayyid al-Khoi. Sayyid al-Khoi, I don't know if anyone still follows Sayyid al-Khoi. He was the teacher of most of the current living maraja right now. He used to say, travel at night or during the day, that's it. You can't. There's kafara. You cannot be covered. Your head cannot be covered. Sayyid Sistani and the others, they say, as long as it's not raining. So the man, you need to pray it doesn't rain at night. If it rains at night, that's it. If it begins to rain on us, whether we're in the train or in the bus, then we have to give kafara, the men. So this is why, because of this issue, we're going to try to do our travel from Medina to Mecca and our ihram when? At night. So only a few people who follow some of the maraja, maybe some of the maraja, they say no, regardless, day or night, you have to give kafara. But the majority of the men will not have to give kafara. So this is one issue where taqleed matters. You need to know who you follow in this issue. Another issue is the shaving of the head, halq al-ras. Some scholars, they say it is mukhayyar, meaning it's your choice. The man, it's your choice whether you want to shave or you don't want to shave. For example, Sayyid Fadlallah says this. One marja, Sayyid Sistani says it's encouraged to do the shaving, but if you can't, then no, you could just trim it. That is sufficient. Sayyid Khamenei, he says with the blade. You need to go with the blade. So there's no excuse. So, but then if they say, for example, if one marja says ihtiyat wujubi, meaning he's not giving a fatwa in this. He's saying, if you want to follow me, then this is what I'm telling you. But I say ihtiyat, then you could follow another marja who says you don't have to. So these are some of the issues. They will come up. I will let you know if this is an issue that it matters who you follow in this issue, so that everyone is doing their Hajj based on their maraja and what their maraja have basically instructed. Is this clear? Okay. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We'll go to the next slide, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, the next point is the will. Now, is writing a will wajib? Writing a will is not wajib, but it is highly recommended in general. In general, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذَا حَضَرَ أَحَدُكُمُ الْمَوْتِ إِن تَرَكَ خَيْرًا الْوَصِيَّةُ لِلْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ. Here, the scholars, they say, because it says حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ, this is something that the muttaqi does. This is something that a God-fearing person does. They say, this is an indicator that this is not wajib. Because if it was wajib, it would have said حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Every Muslim has to do it. But this is saying, this is a sign of a gesture of iman and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this. In the past, when people used to travel on long trips, they used to do a wasiyah, a will, because you don't know what's going to happen. You're going and maybe it's not safe. And the Hajj in the past, people used to go and come back 6 months later. Come back 3 months later. Hajj was a long journey. Now, alhamdulillah, Hajj is safe and people go and come, and travel has become a lot easier right now than in the past. But still, generally, it is good to write a will. It's good to write a will in general, regardless of going to Hajj or not going to Hajj. So what do you do in the will? In the will, you have to basically take care of your personal affairs. Basically, it's the last paper, the last document that you're leaving behind. When I leave this life, what am I going to leave behind? I need to leave behind. And then a lot of us, when we leave, we have unfinished business, right? I have unfinished business with people. Maybe I borrowed money from someone. Maybe I hurt someone. Maybe I did something. Maybe I have unfinished business with God. And then it's also good to leave behind a document saying what your beliefs, what your faith was, what your principles were in this life. So this is what the will does. So what do you write in an Islamic will? In a will, there are several things that we write. One of them is the testament of faith. You could go to the next slide, please. The testament of faith, meaning you write what your iman is, what your faith, what you believe in. So that when someone dies, they come and they say, no, this person believed in God and the Prophet and the Qibla and the Imams of the Ahl Bayt. All of this person believed in. This is one. Second, and you see that testament of faith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that this is what the prophets did. Allah says when Yaqub, when it was time for his death, he gathered his children and he tells them, who do you worship? He was trying to remind them and reaffirm his faith. And this is why it's mustahab to do the shahada before you die, because that is you declaring your faith and publicly what you believe in. And the hadith says the one who says the shahada before they die, this person enters paradise. So second, you write down anything that you owed. Maybe I borrowed money from someone. Maybe I hit someone. Maybe I hurt someone. Now I have to give this person blood money. Maybe I have wronged someone. I have to make sure that I clear my affairs with everyone. And this is why we see a lot of people before they leave to Hajj, they call up their friends and they tell them, because you're going to get a clean slate when you come back. When you come back, you're going to be as if you were a newborn. So maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will forgive you for what you have done, but you hurt this person and that person. Go deal your affairs with these people. So this is something that we have to sort out. And In the will, that is where we write it. Third, you write anything that you owed. Maybe you owed something to God. So the first is anything that you owed to others. Now, what did I owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have I done all my prayers? If I have not, I need to write it down. Have I missed any fasting? If I have not, I need to write it down. Have I not gone to Hajj? If I don't go to Hajj and I'm able to go to Hajj, it's haram. Allah is going to hold me accountable for it. And this is why some people, they give niyaba, meaning they're unable to go, or they died and they were unable to go, or they didn't go, and Hajj became wajib on them. Then you have to give niyaba. You have to send someone to go on your behalf. This is something that is wajib. And we mentioned the hadith last week of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. He says, if a person was able to go and does not, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells this person, choose, where do you want to be, with the Christians or the Jews? So this is why, if someone has not gone, or you have a loved person that died and they had not gone, send someone to go, niyaba on their behalf. This is something that is very important. You could go on behalf of someone that has not gone to Hajj before. This is if you have done the Hajj for yourself. If you're financially capable, you have to do Hajj for yourself, and then you go on behalf of another person. And then another very important point that we put in our will is the distribution of assets, the distribution of our wealth. Our whole life, we accumulate wealth. And then the moment we die, we separate from all of that. Okay, how do I want this wealth to be dispersed? How do I want these assets to be divided? So in Islam, there are rules. And that is that two-thirds of everything that you leave behind, two-thirds of your assets, they are divided according to the laws of Islam that are mentioned in the Quran. لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. You have children, the boy takes double, the girl. The parents, they take 1/6. The wife, if she has a child, she takes 1/8. If she does not have a child, she takes 1/4. The husband, if he has a child, he takes 1/4. If he does not have a child, he takes 1/2. These are all rules that are mentioned very clearly in the Quran, and there's no difference between Sunnis and Shias regarding this. And that's regarding 2/3 of our assets. However, 1/3 of your assets that you leave behind, and when I say assets, I mean your stocks, I mean the liquid assets, I mean the anything that you have, your property, whatever it is, 1/3, you could do with it whatever you want. You could give it to one person. You could do that. You could make up, some people they say, for example, I have a son and a daughter. My daughter, because the Quran says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, she takes half of what the boy takes. So I want to make up for the girl, so I could give her more from the share of the 1/3. And one thing that is highly recommended to do is to leave behind a sadaqah jariyah. Leave behind a ongoing charity, a charity that is continuous. When I die, that's it. My a'mal finish. I can't get up and pray anymore. I can't fast. I can't do anything. Let my money work on my behalf. Let my money continue doing something. So for example, helping a masjid, for example, building a masjid, being involved, having one share in a masjid, or building a school, helping orphans, helping a hospital, putting a water, just a place where people can drink. These are all considered sadaqah jariyah. And anyone who benefits from this masjid or this school or this hospital or whatever it is, even when I'm 500 years dead in my grave, I still get thawab. I still get reward from all of that. This is what a sadaqah jariyah is, meaning a continuous charity. So this is something that you could do in your 1/3. But if you don't write anything in the 1/3, then the whole money is just divided based on the rules of the Quran. Between the laws of inheritance. So you could choose up to 1/3 or even less than 1/3. You could choose 1/8, 1/10 to do a good deed with. But you have all the way up to 1/3 to do a good deed with it, and the rest could be divided within the assets. Of course, it's also good to give the good. If you're planning on doing something good, give it during your life before you die. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went. A man from the Ansar passed away from the Muslims. So his children, they came and they brought Rasulullah the man had distributed his assets. He had left a portion of his assets to be donated as charity. So Rasulullah came in a barn or a container, like a place that had dates in. And there were dates, they were collecting, they were putting them in bags. There was one last one on the ground. Rasulullah picked it up and he told his family, he told them, if he had given this much, this one date, during his life, the reward is greater than all of that he gave after his death. Because what's the value of money when we die? When I die, money has no value to me. Giving, the test of Iman is giving during your life, not giving after your death. But it's still a good way, a good cause, and something good to do. So my dear brothers and sisters, who does not have this? We distributed this. Okay. Can we please distribute them to those who don't have? Yes, it's up here. And can you also send it on the WhatsApp group, please? Mahdi? Yes. Yes, sister. Yes, sponsoring an orphan is sadaqah. Sadaqah, you're teaching someone, you're helping someone. This is all a type of sadaqah. You could write it in the will. You could write it in the will. For example, when I die, take a portion of my money up to 1/3 and sponsor orphans with it and build masjids and do this and do that. You could do all of that up to 1/3. More than 1/3, we can't. I can't come and donate all my money to the sadaqah because then I will be doing injustice to my children and to my family. So, and there was a man during the life of the Prophet. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he came and he saw these kids, they were begging in the street. And their father was rich. Rasulullah saw and he tells the Muslims, why are these kids begging in the street? The Muslims, they tell him, Ya Rasulullah, this man, this person, their father was wealthy, but he gave all of his money in sadaqah. Rasulullah says, if I had known, I would not have allowed him to be buried in a Muslim cemetery. Look how strong that is. That means be balanced in your life. Have for yourself, have for your family, 2/3, but then give a little for your akhirah as well. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is the sample will. Was it sent? This is the sample will. You could look at it. It begins with the declaration of faith. You say, for example, who you believe in, the Prophet, the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. You believe in the Usul al-Din. This is a testament. This is a sample. You could fill this in, or you could write it on your own as well. But this is just a sample. You put in your name, your date of birth, your place of birth, your address, so that people know. This could even become a legal document. If you have 2 witnesses, I looked this up. If you have 2 witnesses, this could be a legal document. The children could go to the court and they could, this could be used in court if you have 2 witnesses in Michigan. So then you need to assign a wasi, meaning an executor of the will. Because when I die, I won't be able to carry out these things. I have to appoint someone. You appoint that person. It says, for example, where I want to be buried in an Islamic funeral. You put the name of the executor, an alternate executor. For example, maybe if this person had passed away, now you pick someone else. And then you put your funeral and, for example, where you want to be buried. This is also something important to write down. And then here, number 5, you put your religious obligations that you've missed. And this is very important, my dear brothers and sisters. If I have missed salah, I need to write it down. If I have missed fasting, I need to write it down. Salat al-ayat. Salat al-ayat, there's about 2 every year. 2 every year. A lot of us, we don't know about them. This should be written down. Your khums and your zakat, debts to individuals, write all of that down. And Hajj, if it has not been done, it should be written down in the wasiyah. And then also, number 6, you write the 1/3. What do you want the 1/3 to be, how you want it to be spent. And then number 7, distribution of the remaining assets based on the Islamic laws. So this is a sample will that we have shared. And you could use this or you could use any type of will, but this is the rules that we have. Any questions regarding the will, my dear brothers and sisters? Yes?
So if you're married and you share 100% of your assets with your spouse, isn't it, you just not put any of the assets because there's still a living person who's going to use it all?
So if you have ownership of it, then someone's going to inherit. Something has to be owned by one person. Two people can't own the same thing because one person is responsible for it. Now, you might have an agreement with your husband, for example, that if anything happens to me, I'm giving this to you, for example. Or you give it to them in their life. Or he gives it to you during his life. But the moment I die, all of my assets, they automatically transfer to individuals that the Quran has stated. There's people that have a haqq, so it transfers. So I know a lot of people, they say my money and his money, they're all the same and things like that. But this creates a lot of complication when it comes to khums, when it comes to inheritance, when it comes to Islamic laws. It's good to kind of have, yes, you could have your money in the same bank account, but you need to kind of have a general idea. Okay, 1/3 of it is mine, or we decide, for example, you and your husband could decide half of the money in the account is mine and half of the money is yours. It always remains half, 50-50. So you could decide that. But if something were to happen to one person, then that, for example, you have parents and your husband has parents. So the parents also inherit. So they wouldn't inherit all of the money because only their son, for example, something happened. So they would only inherit the portion that belongs to their son. So that's why it's very important to kind of, yes, I know a shared bank account, a lot is very common, but to kind of have a line where you kind of know whose money is where. Yes, Hajj. Mhm. So what you need to do is tell the lawyer who wrote the trust for you to apply the laws of Islam in the trust. And they do that. Especially with regards to the 2/3. Now with the 1/3, that could be given however you want it to be given. But by laws of Islam, for example, the children inherit more than the spouse. But laws in America come and say that the spouse inherits more. All the money goes automatically to the spouse. Yeah. So by laws of Islam, your spouse has a share. The spouse has a share that is very clear. Before they touch anything in the money, they come and they take out the spouse of the money that belongs to the spouse. For example, I said, if there are children, the spouse inherits 1/8. If there's no children, the spouse inherits 1/4. But then once they take out the spouse's share, then if your parents are alive, they would also take out your parents. 1/6, the Quran says. They take that out, and then the money, all of that is remaining, goes to the children. للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. The man the boy inherits double the girl. Yes, brother.
So for simplicity's sake, let's say you have man, wife, and parent.
Yes.
Passes away, and parents are entitled to their remaining. Can they decline that inheritance?
Yes. So someone can decline, like once it comes to them, they come after the person passes away. They come and they sign, or they come and they say, I don't want my share. They could do that. But the moment I die, my money has already transferred. It's not like, oh, let's choose whether we want to give this person or not. No, my money transfers the moment I die. In fact, the scholars say the moment a person becomes ill, becomes sick, where they know that this person is going to die as a result of this person becomes mahjur, meaning this person is unable to deal with the 2/3 of their money anymore.
So that right of refusal can only happen after.
After, yes.
So somebody can't preemptively say that.
No. After, because we don't know who dies first. So, and the Quran says, in the verses, the Quran says, you don't know who benefits who. Maybe the parents leave to the children, maybe the children end up leaving to the parents. So, there's always these rules. Yes, sister.
So, in an event where, God forbid, the father would die, the mother is only left with 1/8. How is she supposed to raise the children without that financial support from her husband while the rest of the remainder of the money is split between her two children?
So she uses her children's money to raise them.
Oh,
Yeah, they have the money. If their father dies, they have the money. She uses that money in their favor in a way that will raise them.
I thought it was something where she wasn't allowed to touch that money.
No, she is, as long as she's using it on them, she's using it in a responsible way for them, then there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, sister. So that one, when you take it, yes, but when it's given to you, that's when you're able to pay the khums. Now you don't have it. Yes, yes, sister.
Quick question. So for the funeral instructions, it has like some cost, especially here in the US. So is this something that goes from that 1/3 of our money, or is something a responsibility?
No, that could be taken out of your money. Like the deceased person, they could take it out of their money.
So it's like, for example, let's say if I have $100 left behind, and then $20 goes toward the funeral, then the 1/3 is calculated based on that $80 remainder. Included in that 1/3 or no? The cost of funeral is that?
It's included in the share of the 1/3, or you use whatever you need to use on the expenses of this person, and then whatever is left, then you could come and use it. Is it clear?
No, honestly. So let's say if I die, so that's sorry, the funeral cost is from that 1/3 that I do wasiya on, or is from the 2/3?
The funeral cost is a necessary cost that needs to come out of the money. It comes out of the deceased person's money, and then they come and they say divide it up into, yes. Yes, 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 yes. As long as you have 2/3, the haq of the, like right now, I could write in my will, take out 10,000 for my funeral, take out 20,000, give this person. This is, as long as it's within the 1/3, I could write it in my will. And then I can't write more than 1/3. I can't, for example, come and say, spend all of my money on my funeral. I can't do that. I could only use up to 1/3. Yes, yes, brother.
How does it handle business? You have a business account with a partner or a business account alone? What do you do with that?
So if you only the share that you own. Only the part, you have a partner in your business. Who owns what? You own 1/3, he owns the rest, you own half, he owns half. Only the part that you own. So the khums, we're going on to the khums right now, but let me just read some of the questions that are here. How about someone has kids, but he would rather donate all of his wealth rather than leave for his kids? What are your thoughts on this? So no, you cannot deprive your kids. You leave 2/3 to your kids. Other than the 2/3, then you could do good deeds with it. Even with giving sadaqah, you have to be balanced. You can't just come and give all your money to sadaqah. You have responsibilities with your money. Where can we do the will? So we sent the will in the WhatsApp group. If anyone would like more help, you could reach out to me, you could message me, and we could go over it if there's more details that you would like to go over. What if someone doesn't know exactly how much prayers he missed? How much would he have to make up? So you estimate. So this, for example, what are you certain of? Someone might come and say, I am certain that I missed 2 months of prayer, but I'm not, maybe it's 3 months, I'm not sure. So here you come and you write 2 months, because I'm only certain with the 2 months. I'm not certain with the 3rd month. So you only write what you're certain. Same with the fasting, same with everything. That which you're certain of. So someone might come and say, I became baligh at this age, and I know for a fact that I was not praying the first 2-3 years. The first 2 years. But maybe the 3rd year I started praying. Okay, then you know for a fact 2 years, you write 2 years. That's it. That's the what you write. By the way, when we write this down, this doesn't mean that, okay, I'm gonna write it down and someone's just gonna come. I have to try to make it up before I die. If I didn't, and I keep subtracting, and then if I didn't, they take from my 1/3. They don't need to take from the 2/3. They take from the 1/3, and if the 1/3 finished, and a lot of times, if people didn't care for their prayer, their kids might not care for their prayer either. They're not going to come and give that money to someone else. So worry about yourself before anyone else, because probably if you did not care for yourself, your kids are not going to care for you. This is the rule of life. So that's why every person should be worried and concerned about themselves. Okay, buy boy, double the girl. This is the rule in the Quran. The will paper that you have that's legally binding in Michigan, do you know if it's binding in California? I'm not sure. This is, in general, this is a general Islamic will. You could check with a lawyer or someone. If someone is a revert, became a Muslim, can they leave inheritance for their non-Muslim agnostic kids? So the non-Muslim does not inherit from a Muslim. This is one of the rules. But unless someone wants to give in their life, they could give. But before that, after death, there's no inheritance. But before, you could come and give whoever you like. Okay. So, yes, sister.
One more question. For this paper to become an official document, the witnesses need to be like official notary or something?
So I looked it up. It says it's better if it's notarized. You want it to be, because the stronger you want it to be in a probate court, then even, for example, some examples, they say put your passport number so that they know this is you. There's a bunch of, for example, you know, this person. We have like how many Muhammad Hamouds in our group, right? We have like 3 of them, I think. So, Naam? And Wissam Hamoud. So you want to make sure that it is the right person, and if it's notarized, then this will make your case stronger. Yes. Yeah, you could take that. You don't need to take it to Hajj. You could fill it out and leave it here with someone trusted. Yes. So now, my dear brothers and sisters, we're moving on to another issue, and that is paying out the religious dues. Remember, we talked about the Hajj. We said the Hajj, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ. For who? مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. The one that could afford the Hajj. If I have loans, I can't afford the Hajj. If I have debt, I can't afford the Hajj. Now, maybe I don't have debt to people, but who do I have debt to? To Allah. I have debt to God. I have khums to pay. I have not paid. So now I'm madyun. So does all my money belong to me? No. Because a portion of my money belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I haven't given it. It belongs to the imam. Zakat needs to be paid for it. Khums needs to be paid on it. And I have not paid. So we're going to talk about the loan. Next slide, inshallah, I'm going to talk about if you have a loan, how you could make it work where you go to Hajj. Because that is also an issue. If you have a mortgage. But I'm talking about right now dues that are wajib on us. And from amongst the wajib dues is dues to people. So for example, someone is telling me, you took $10,000 from me, give it back to me. I need it. You come and you tell him, no, I'm going to go to Hajj with it. Haram. I can't go to Hajj because I have to give this person their money back. Then Hajj becomes wajib on me. If I'm in debt, Hajj is not wajib on me. Unless Hajj became wajib on me before I took the loan. I had plenty of money. Hajj became wajib. Then I became madyun. Then it remains wajib on me. But I have to make sure that I don't have debts with people unless they come and they tell me, no, you know what? Go to Hajj. You could give me back my money in 10 years. I'm not worried about that. Then that would be okay. And I don't have zakat and khums due upon me. So how does khums work? Because this is a very important issue. And in order for my Hajjatul Islam, the wajib Hajj, the one wajib Hajj that we do in our lives, in order for that to count, you need to go with money that fully belongs to you. 100% of it belongs to you. Even if it's 1/5 of it or less does not belong to me, then I can't go to Hajj with that money. Because I'm doing ibadah with something that does not even belong to me. So now, here, when it comes to khums is generally wajib. Yani, regardless of Hajj or not, khums is wajib upon every Muslim. Just like salah is wajib, just like Hajj is wajib, just like fasting is wajib, that you pay khums once a year. But why are we mentioning it regarding the Hajj? Because some of us might be going to Hajj with money that has not paid khums on. Then that becomes a problem when it comes to the Hajj. So that's why we're mentioning this. So in general, What is khums? Khums is paying 1/5 of the extra surplus. So, for example, you make $100,000 a year, and you spend and you travel and you enjoy life and you do whatever is basic spending based on your status, you spend. And then at the end of the year, after one full year from the day I got my job until now, I come and I see 1 year has passed. I have $20,000 left in my bank account. I spent 80 of them on my expenses, on my bills, on everything. I have $20,000 left in my bank account. That $20,000, I come and I take 1/5 of it. Khums. Khums means 1/5. I come and I take 1/5 of it, and that is $4,000, and I give that as khums. Now the remaining $16,000, that money is mukhammas. That money is halal money that fully belongs to me. There's not even a single dollar that is wrongfully in my account or wrongfully I'm using. So then once I have the money that is fully mukhammas, then I could spend it to go to Hajj. I can't take $20,000, even $4,000 of it, I do not belong to me, and I spend it on going to Hajj. So that means I would be going to Hajj with money that doesn't fully belong to me. So just a second. So once you've paid that, that money becomes pure money. Now, usually what I tell people to do is after you have given your khums, after you have done the khums, you have that 16, for example, you gave 4,000, you have 16,000. Write down, write in your notes, on your computer, in your iPhone, wherever it is, write down you have $16,000 as mukhammas, as pure money. Why? Because next year, on your khums date, the same day, 1 year from now, you come and you see how much money do you have. Say now you have $36,000. You spent 80, you made 100 again. You spent 80, you had 20 left. But then you also had the 16 from last year. You have $36,000. So now how much do you pay khums? You remove the 16 because that 16 is already pure money. You've already paid khums on it. You don't need to pay khums on the same money twice. You paid money on that 16, so you pay money based on basically the 20 that's left. That is what you pay khums on. So the money that you paid on, and then now the number goes up, 16 plus 16. So your mukhammas money, the money that is pure in your account, is the number goes up. So a lot of times people, the first year they give khums, they say, this is a shock, this is a lot. But next year, you're not going to be giving as much because you already raised the bar, basically. So this is when it comes to khums. What falls under the category of khums? I have stocks, I have Bitcoin, any assets that you have. Any assets that you have. However, the house that I'm living in, it's an asset, but I don't consider it as a part of the khums. Why? Because I'm using it. It's not surplus. The car that I'm driving, I don't come and look at the value of the car. Why? Because I'm driving it. I'm using it. Maybe, for example, I have 2 houses and I live in both houses. Or I have my family situation requires me to have 2 houses. So if that is your family situation, that second house is not an extra house, then I deduct both of those houses from the value, and only anything that is seen as extra, anything that is seen as surplus, that is what khums is paid on. So yes, brother, did you have a question?
You answered most of it, but back to stocks. So let's say you have $10,000 in stocks, but you don't pull that money out and sell the stocks. You still have to pay on it? Because then there's fees and...
So stocks, because stocks are an investment, they're not something that is necessary to have right now. It's an investment, any investment, according to the majority of scholars, Sayyid Sistani included and others, they say you don't need to sell it, but you look at the value of it. How much are my stocks worth right now? My stocks are worth $10,000. I come and I throw it, I put it in the calculation. I don't need to sell those stocks to come and pay. I could pay from this pool. They're all basically in one. Look at it as all your money in in one bin, basically, in one basket, and then you come and you could take out what is owed from it. Yes, Hajj. If it's investment, it falls under khums. But if I'm actually living in two houses. Okay, so if that's an investment, you don't deduct the mortgage. You can't. You look at the you can't deduct the mortgage off of an investment property, but from a house that you're living in, the house that I'm actually living in, I have a $300,000 mortgage, say for example, on it. So now I come and I calculate how much khums do I owe. I looked at this money here, that money here, the stocks, the 401k, all of that. I looked at them, and then I come and I see I owe $20,000, but I have $300,000 mortgage. You come and you don't pay khums that year. That year you come and you deduct the 20 from the 300,000. So next year, even if I didn't pay a single dollar towards my loan, towards my mortgage, I didn't pay a single dollar. It's still $300,000. I can't come and say I have $300,000 loan. What do I say? I have 280,000, right? We said 20? I have $280,000 loan because I already used 20 of it last year. But naturally, people, they've probably paid also 20,000, and last year they deducted 20,000. So now I come and I say I have $260,000 that I could deduct from my khums. So this only applies to the house that you are living in, something that you are actually using right now. But I have mortgage on an investment property, I can't deduct that because that's an investment, that's extra. I have mortgages on businesses, something else, that's extra. But if it's on the house that I'm living in, even student loan, Sayyid Sistani says, because that was something that was in the past. You're not using it right now. You can't come and deduct it. It's something that you're actually benefiting from right now at this moment. Okay? Yes, brother. Gifts, it's still a surplus. It's still considered a surplus. Now, I believe some maraja, I think Sayyid Khamenei, I'm not sure, but I believe he does not consider the gift as a surplus. But Sayyid Sistani says no, gift is, you have to pay on gift. Yes. The mahar also, you don't pay khums on. The mahar and the inheritance, khums are deducted from these. The mahar and what you inherit, you deduct that. You don't need to pay khums on that. Yes, Hajj. No, it needs to be paid while you're alive. Yes. So here, my dear brothers and sisters, what a person could do for their Hajj to count if they have khums that they need to pay. Number one, at least pay. Now, khums is wajib for all of the money, but at least pay the khums of the money that I'm spending on the Hajj. So I'm paying, for example, right now our package is how much? $11,000. Make sure that $11,000 is from the mukhammas money, meaning after I pay my khums, I have 11,000. Not I come and I pay khums for 11,000. Meaning once I pay, like for example, if you pay khums on $4,000, then you'll have $16,000 of the pure money. Then you go to Hajj with that money. Not I take the 11 and I just pay the khums on the 11 because it's still a little bit shorter. So this is what is basically the minimum that we should do. But then if you're able to give the khums of your money, of basically all of the khums that you owe, then of course this is wajib on you, just like fasting and just like salah and hajj and everything is wajib. But if you're unable to do that, you could do a payment plan. Basically, you sign up for a payment plan that, okay, I'm in the process of paying my khums. At least the wajib for the hajj, I've removed that so that my hajj, there's going to be no question on the hajj, and I get myself into a payment plan. Yes, hajj.
I have a follow-up question about the stock thing. If you had, like, let's say $10,000 in stock, so you pay khums on that, you pay $2,000, and then your stocks end up going down because you haven't sold them. So
Yes.
in the years that follow, the stocks go down.
That's it. You don't pay khums on it. You keep track of what you've paid. So if your stocks went down, that means you didn't have a surplus. So some years in business, there's good years, some years there's bad years. Allah does not want you to pay khums every year if you didn't make money. Only if you made extra. And after you've spent 80%, then if there's 20% left, then you pay khums on it.
But the 401k is the exception, you pay on that when you draw that one.
Yes, yeah, because you don't have access to it right now. Yes. Yes, sister.
You said you pay khums on the 20,000, it's 4,000.
Yeah.
Following year, let's say you have 20,000, you already paid khums, but you said 16.
So the next year, if you have next year you have 20,000. This year I paid on 20,000, so that means I took out 4,000. There's 16 left. Next year I have $20,000 in my bank account. What do I subtract from the 20? The 16. I don't pay khums on 16 because that's mukhammas. I only pay khums on 4,000. I take 1/5 of the 4,000.
Not the 20,000.
No, because the 16,000 I already gave khums on. Between the 16 and the 20, there's 4,000. That is new money I need to pay on. Yes, if you made an additional, yes.
Yeah, additional, but already, yani there's khums on the 20, already khums to 20. You know what I'm saying? From this year, khums to 20.
She's saying that she paid khums on 20,000. You said it leaves 16. She's counting 20.
Yes. So when you pay khums on 20,000, like right now in this scenario, you made 100,000. You have 20,000 at the end of the year. You pay khums on 20,000. After you pay khums on 20,000, which is 4,000 you paid, when you take out 4,000 from the 20,000, how much do you have left? 16. 16 is the mukhammas. 16 is the pure money. No, not the 20, because I took out 4,000. I have 16 that's left. The 16, the 4/5, that one I deduct it the next year. So I deduct 16,000 from the next year's money that I have. Yes. Yes, Hajj.
So for this example here, so let's say you're left with 20,000, but then this Hajj trip, what was it, 10,000?
Yes.
Because it's not pure money, you can't subtract it and net and pay khums off the 10,000 only. You have to pay khums first and then off the 16.
So yes, you have to pay a little bit more to get the 4/5 that covers the price of the Hajj. So how do we do the math on that? If you want to, the 4/5 needs to be the value of the Hajj that you do. So you have to pay a little bit more. Basically, pay khums on like 15,000. What's if you pay khums on 15,000 or 16,000? Naam? Pay khums on 15. What do you get? 12,000. Then you go to Hajj. So yes. So then the money that you're going to Hajj with is all mukhammas money. Yes.
You had said that you have to go to Hajj with your own money, but that obviously doesn't apply if your spouse is sending you, correct?
No. So it does apply. So for example, right now your husband, he comes and he tells you, I give you this money. Even if you have khums, you have loan, you have whatever. He came and he gave you that money. This is badal. Meaning now, I gave you money to go to Hajj with. That's it. But I made it wajib on you. Now you could go to Hajj with it. Yes. But yes, but if you're using anything from your own property that you did not pay khums on, like the clothes I'm wearing, the shoes, all of that, the ihram, I bought money with my own money. Unless someone came and gave me all the money for everything, the ihram, everything, then I would not need to pay. Yes. Yes, yes. The husband has to have paid khums. So if someone gives you badl, then you could go to it, go to Hajj with it. Okay, let me answer some of these questions online. The question, can you speak in Arabic? I could call you, or I could speak to you after, because right now there's a lot of questions. We could speak in Arabic later, inshallah. Is there set for a baligh? Is there a set for a baligh? I don't know. Trust, help, avoid probate court. Okay. What about 401k, since you can't access that money? So once you access it, then you would pay. How do you calculate the investment house of khums purposes, having mortgage on it? Do you count rental income? Rental income is counted, and we talked about investments. How about if, yes, we have savings, but they are money we are saving up for federal income taxes, federal income taxes due in April? No, I'm saving up money, khums applies to it. I want to buy a house in 5 years, so I'm just saving up money. I have to pay my khums, there's a due on it. Just like the government tells you you have to pay taxes, you have to pay bills, all of that, there's a portion that is khums. If you inherited a house, land from parents who haven't been paying khums, do you have to pay khums on it? If you know for sure that they have not paid khums, then you have to pay. But if you don't know, they're mu'mineen, they're good people, then you don't need to go and give. So if Hajj costed 30,000 for myself and my husband and we owe khums, so can we just pay 6,000 before we go, and that would be okay, at least until we figure out what we owe for khums? So you need to pay so see, the thing is, if you want 30,000 to be pure money, you have to pay a little bit more, because we're talking, it needs to be the 4/5. After you've paid khums, whatever is the 4/5 needs to be the money that you're going to Hajj with. Not taking the money that I'm going to Hajj with and giving that in khums. If khums isn't required for someone who is young, 23 khums is required, and just got a mortgage 2 years ago, are they still able to go to Hajj with their savings? And is it wajib for them? So if you have a mortgage and you've always not had money, then Hajj is not wajib on you. If I was young, for example, I became baligh, and then I've always had less money than the Hajj. The Hajj is always, every year after year, it's going higher and higher in price. I never had that extra money. I always had expenses here and there, and then I got a mortgage. As soon as I got a job, for example, then Hajj is not wajib on me. So Hajj only becomes wajib. Hajj becomes wajib when you are fully financially capable after you have spent on all of your basic necessities. But I'm going to explain in the next slide, if you have a mortgage right now and you want this Hajj that you're going to count for your Hajjat al-Islam, what you need to do. Yes, Hajj.
So let's say I have this example. If you're donating like the orphans or like a mosque or anything like that, is that deducted from technically what you have to pay khums on, or is this like an ultimate deduction, or is it not?
So here, a lot of people ask this question, because a lot of people on a general basis, they're giving donations here and there, and they're giving a lot. You have to consider, you have to have the niyyah, because khums is ibadah. Khums is a form of worship. So I need to, just as long as you keep in mind, I consider this a part of my khums, then it will be counted. But then if I'm not counting it, I'm just giving here and there, and then I come and I say I want to deduct that, I mean, inshallah, Allah will accept it from you, but it's best that we know the laws and how to do things so that we don't run into problems later. Make the niyyah, because it's a form of worship, it's a form of ibadah. Yes, so also about how the khums is paid as well. I mean, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Maybe I'm giving khums where a place where there's rules regarding the khums. And here, the khums is divided. So now everyone come back to this example. You had 20, you gave 4. 4,000 you gave in khums. That khums of 4,000, you divide it into 2 shares. So further confusion. If someone's already confused, this is further. That khums is divided, that 4,000 is divided into 2 shares, what you give. Allah says in the Quran, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. 6 categories. The saham, the share of God, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى. God and the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt, this is referred to as Sahm al-Imam, meaning the share of God goes to the Prophet, the share of the Prophet goes to the Ahlul Bayt, and that is, who is the representative of the Ahlul Bayt right now? Imam al-Mahdi. That is money that belongs to Imam al-Mahdi. Sahm al-Imam. So a portion of our money belongs to Imam al-Mahdi when khums is due on it. The other share, وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, the orphans and the masakin and the poor, and ibn as-sabil, meaning the one who's traveling and they lost their money. Here we have hadith from the Ahlul Bayt, from Imam Sadiq and from the other Imams. They say this context is talking about the needy from the Hashemites, the needy from Bani Hashim, from the Sayyids. Not any Sayyid. A Sayyid who is in need. A Sayyid who basically does not afford the basic necessities of life. This person uses that Saham Sada. So that is divided into, the khums is divided into two shares. So if I have $4,000 in khums, $2,000, I could give it to Sahm al-Imam. Where do I spend Sahm al-Imam? Here, if you're not sure, you give it to your marja. You give it to your marja to be rest assured. However, if you want to spend it in a way that is productive, in a way that you see your money being spent, here scholars say that, like the Maraja, where do they spend the Sahm al-Imam? For example, they give it to the mosques, they give it to the hawza, they give it to places that grow and grow the teachings of Islam and the message of Islam. So these places would be applicable to receive the Sahm al-Imam. For example, your local masjid, as long as all the laws of Islam are being followed and there's nothing, nothing that is breaking the rules going on, rules of Islam or the Imam would not be pleased with, then you would be able to give to those organizations. And once you give to those organizations, this would be Sahm al-Imam. So for example, here, we're planning on, inshallah, growing this. This is a rent. We accept, for example, here, people pay Sahm al-Imam because this is a rented facility where it is fulfilling the needs of the community, and we bought a piece of land and we're planning on building. So this is a place where you could give your Sahm al-Imam, you could give your khums. As for Sahm al-Sada, that needs to go to Sayyids who are in need. Now, we could, inshallah, if anyone has further questions or anyone would like to do the calculations after, we could sit and we could do, and I could go over and help you with any of that. Can you re-explain what you meant by khums and whether you owe khums if you have a mortgage loan on the house? Okay, so now we're going to go to, so if you have this is according to Sayyid Sistani. Go back one slide, afwan, sorry. If Sayyid Sistani, just to explain to the brother, he says, if you have a loan on a house that you're living in, I'm living in this house. He says khums is on anything extra. So that, say I have 300,000, I have $100,000 and 100,000 in loan. Now I have to pay $20,000 of khums, I have to pay 4,000. That 4,000, I deducted from this 100. Because I'm already in debt. I'm already in debt for something that I'm living in. So I subtract this 4,000 from this 100. Now I go to 96, for example. My loan, even though my loan on paper is still 100, but I write in my notes that I subtracted 4,000 this year. I keep subtracting until I used up all the money that I owe. But even though I haven't paid it, my loan is 30 years, I haven't paid it, but maybe within 5, 6, 7 years, I could basically use up all of that, and then I would have to start paying khums. Yes? Let me double check and get back to you on that. This was a new fatwa. It came out a couple years ago by Sayyid Sistani. So I could check on that, but I believe this is just Sayyid Sistani, but I will double check on that. Okay, inshallah. Yes? No, the house that you're living in, you don't look at it as an asset. The one that you're living in. Unless you have another house that you're not living in, then that is considered an asset. But the mortgage on the house, you deduct it. You deduct the khums from that. Yes. What if you have $200,000 in student loan debt? He says no, because this is not something I'm using right now. This is something in the past. It's something that I have to be living off of, an expense right now that I have. Okay, now my dear brothers and sisters, let us go back to, if anyone has further questions on the khums, please reach out to me, message me, you have my number, and we could clarify it more, because every person has their own circumstances, and we could go over it. If you have, next slide please. If you have a home loan. Remember, we talked about I can't have a loan to go to Hajj, but now I have $100,000 on my house that I'm living in. So what do I do here? Here, if before I bought the house, before I got the loan, I had money in my bank account and I chose not to go to Hajj. Maybe Hajj, for example, 5 years ago was $7,000. I had $7,000, but I chose to go to Cancun instead. Now, Hajj is wajib on me. Hajj is wajib, but it became wajib. Once it becomes wajib, it remains wajib, even though I don't have the money now. So many people, this is the case with them. There was probably a year that Hajj became wajib on them and it remained wajib. Then later on I got a loan. Later on my business went bad. Hajj remained wajib on me. This is number one. Number two, and this, by the way, number two is a lot of the youth, for example, they've never, maybe, for example, they had a job. Hajj now has become so expensive, and they graduated from high school, they went to college. They've never had extra $11,000, $12,000 just, after all of the expenses. And then they ended up getting a job and they got a loan right away. They got a mortgage right away. But this mortgage is 30 years. And I could, alhamdulillah, I'm making enough money to be able to buy a car, to travel. I could afford going to Hajj bil quwwa, meaning I still have a loan, but I still could afford to spend money here and there. So here's a loophole that scholars, they say, in order to have this Hajj count as Hajjatul Islam, meaning the wajib Hajj, what do? Here, you have your spouse or you have your friend, someone who has the money of the Hajj in their bank account. So for example, Hajj was $12,000 this year. And I have a loan, and Hajj never became wajib on me earlier. Now this year I just want to go. If it became wajib on me, I don't need to do this loophole. But if it's now I'm planning on going, and I have a loan, but then I want to go to Hajj. So someone comes and writes me a check. For example, Hajj Wasam, he comes and he writes me a check, $12,000, and he comes and he gives it to me. And I know, and I have to know that he has that money. He has that money. I come, I take this, I say, I accept it from you. He tells you, I'm giving you this as badl, meaning I'm giving you this money to go to Hajj. Regardless of your other circumstances, Hajj became wajib on you. The moment I accept it, what happens? Hajj became wajib on me because I accepted it, right? And then what do I do with the money? I rip up the check. I say, shukran. You made Hajj wajib on me, and now I go. This is I know it sounds maybe like what is this guy saying, but this is a loophole to get around the istita'a issue, because all maraja say this. Sayyid Fadlallah, Sayyid Khamenei, Sayyid Sistani, they say you need to have istita'a. The Quran says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى الْحِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So how do I kind of show that I am mustati'? One of the ways is have istita'a. Someone comes and tells you, here's the money, go to Hajj with it. I'm giving you the money, go to Hajj with it. I say, I accept it. And now do I need to go and cash it? No, because I already paid for with the other money. And then I go to Hajj with it. Okay, is that clear? Yes. Yes, exactly. Well, the khums, you still have to pay because it's something that's wajib. Something that's wajib regardless. But to make this Hajj count as Hajjatul Islam, because if I'm in debt and I went to Hajj, scholars say that cannot be counted as Hajjatul Islam. Once you become mustati', then you go to Hajj with Hajjatul Islam. So because of this mortgage, but I could afford living, I travel, I just have a mortgage. Because they say if you're madyun, you don't need to go to Hajj. But now I want to go to Hajj, and I can't go every year. I want this one to count as Hajjatul Islam. So we do this loophole here. Yeah. This is not what I'm saying. This is what the scholars say. So
What happens if you have a mortgage but you have surplus money as well?
So is your surplus money enough to make you not be madyun? Maybe I have, for example, I have $100,000 mortgage, but I have surplus money that is more than that. I'm just choosing not to pay it. Then I'm mustati'. But we're talking about the person who their mortgage, their loan is higher than their money that they have, their liquid assets.
Can you say that last part again?
Answering his question. So the question that the brother asked is if you have surplus money and you have a mortgage. If my surplus money is more than the mortgage or the loan that I have is $100,000, but my surplus money is $200,000, then that means I'm just choosing not to pay it. So just because I have a debt and I'm choosing not to pay it, that does not mean Hajj is, because now I'm able to pay that and able to go to Hajj, so Hajj is wajib. Yes, but that loophole is if your loan is more than your money and you can't pay off the loan altogether right now, so you have to do that to get out of that scenario. Okay, so does Mustafa ruling? Can you repeat that, please? So we can deduct our khums from the loan we owe on the house, so we can just pay the khums on the mortgage each year. Please reach out to me because I already explained that one. These are becoming specific questions. So please reach out to me so that I could understand what is the context. Mustati'. Does mustati' ruling apply to student loans too? If it's a loan, yes, you need to try to figure it out because that's still a loan. If I have surplus money with mortgage, but if I include student loans as well, I am not as a surplus. Does that count as istita'a? So if you have student loans, just do that loophole, just in case, to make sure that you are, and this could be done with any person with you, as long as that person has money and they tell you I'm giving you go to Hajj with it. Okay, so now, my dear brothers and sisters, we're done with this part. Now there are some questions that people were asking. Inshallah, our trip will begin in Medina. It will begin in Medina. We will land in Medina, and the hotel that we're staying in is Finda. Finda, it's on the side of Al-Baqi'. So if inshallah, I will send a picture in the group about where the hotel is. Basically, the salah in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is worth, the salah in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is worth 10,000 prayers. And in Masjid al-Haram, it is worth 100,000 prayers. So we're going to begin in Medina. And the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says, "Man hajja walam yazurni faqad jafani." The one who performs Hajj and has not visited me, then this person has abandoned me and neglected me. So we will begin in Medina, and inshallah, I'm going to leave this for the next session, inshallah, because we've already gone an hour and a half. But in Medina, inshallah, we will. This is the Baqi'. See the picture of the Baqi' you have right here. We're going to be on those hotels on the left between the Baqi' and Masjid al-Nabi. Our hotels are on that area, and that is somewhere good that we want to be. That's this last year we were in the Umrah, we were on the other side. There's a lot of hotels in Medina, but that's the better side. And we're just going to go, inshallah, the first few days. We're going to go to the masjid, we're going to pray, we're going to visit Quba, Masjid Quba, the first masjid in Islam, Uhud, the place of the Battle of Uhud. We're going to visit Masjid al-Qiblatain, where the Qibla was changed. We're going to do all of these, inshallah, together. And while we're there, we're going to be getting ourselves ready for the Umrah. Umrah al-Tamattu', to enter into Mecca. And inshallah, as we do that, we will, you could buy the ihrams from there, from the hotels. We will buy the ihrams, inshallah, for the men. And for the women, you could also buy over there, or you could buy here, have them ready. But for the men, they're very easy. You go and you buy them. And in the past years, after COVID, this is something we're gonna just, we don't need to go through those slides now. Inshallah, we'll end it there. But in the previous years, after COVID, what they did was the ground floor of Masjid al-Haram, in order to enter it, you have to enter wearing ihram. While we are actually in ihram is just when we're doing the umrah, we're going to wear the ihram, and when we're doing the hajj, we're in ihram. Most of the time, we're not in the state of ihram. But to enter into the mataf, into the ground floor of Masjid al-Haram, they let you enter, they'll let you walk in for the men if they're wearing ihram. Women, they could enter however they want. So you're gonna be, if you want to go by the Kaaba, you have to just put on ihram. Even though you're not in the state of ihram if you want to go there. So you might probably end up buying 2 sets or 3 sets of ihram. Maybe 2 is enough. If you needed another, you could buy from Mecca. And everything, all of the rules regarding the muharramat, I will explain inshallah in the next session. Yes, sister?
I was going to ask about the men wearing the
Ihram.
3 times you said, or every time they attend, every time they enter, they have to wear it?
No, you don't have to. If you want to, like while you're not, the first time we enter Mecca, we're in ihram. But later on, you want to go, after you take off the ihram, you want to take a shower, then you want to go with normal clothes, they'll send you upstairs in the not the ground floor, where the Kaaba is right in front of you. They'll send you, it's also nice to be over there. But if you want to go in the ground floor, you wear the ihram for the brothers. Yes, they won't let anyone who's not muhrim to enter. So my dear, someone asked how much cash is recommended we bring. Bring, depending on how much gifts you want to get for your family or friends, bring some cash. Maybe, I don't know, maybe $2,000, maybe $1,000, depending on how much you want to spend. But probably, I would recommend, just to be on the safe side, bring maybe 2,000 and more if you want. But don't bring too much. And I'm going to tell everyone this when we're there. You don't take money with you while you're wearing ihram. Unfortunately, there are people that are going to, they have knives and they'll cut the belt and they take the money out in the middle of the tawaf. They know so if for sisters it's a little easier because you're not wearing ihram, but the brothers, you're wearing ihram, you're wearing a belt, your money is all in the belt. And some people, they're just carrying they could see, especially the first timers, they're not wearing it correctly. So we're going to give instructions. You leave the money in the hotel. Now, of course, a lot of places, they take credit card. So you don't need to, in the hotel, in the restaurants, and all these places, you could pay with credit card, but bring cash just in case, because maybe not everywhere accepts the credit card. Is our tent in Mina going to be in standard class? The tent, I saw the pictures of the tent where everyone is in the same tent. They're really nice tents. I mean, the ones they sent me. I don't know if those are the ones they're taking us to, but they sent me pictures of really nice tents. It's like I showed the Hajj, right? You saw the pictures of they're pretty nice. We'll send them in the group, inshallah. Men and women are in the same tent, but the men are in one section, the women are in another section. So there's going to be like a partition between the men and women. Yes. Same with Arafat. In Muzdalifah, we're out in the open sky. So let me just give you a quick rundown of what the Hajj process is. It begins with Medina. You wear the ihram and you go to Mecca. We go to Mecca wearing the ihram. And then we finish. We do the tawaf 7 times around the haram. Then we do the sa'i. And then we do the taqsir. Yeah, tawaf, salat, 2 rak'ahs, and then sa'i between Safa and Marwa. And then you do the taqsir and you're out of ihram. So we're going to be out of ihram for a couple of days until the 8th of the Hajj. The 8th of the Hajj at night, we wear ihram again. You wear the ihram again. And 8th of the Hajj, because it's all about the Islamic calendar. 6th or 7th, probably, yes. I'll send you because it all goes back to the Hilal and when they announce over there. Then on the 8th of the Hajj at night, we wear the ihram and we get in the buses and we go to Arafat. We go to Arafat. Arafat is the furthest from Mecca. Probably like a half an hour bus ride. You get to Arafat And then the next day, on the 9th, that is the day of Arafah. That day we wake up in Arafat, we're in tents. You have like these mattresses, they fold into a couch, and they're right by each other. You'll see the pictures of them. They're right by each other. We're going to spend the day there. We do the dua of Imam al-Hussein. We do the prayers, the supplication. The Rasulullah says, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is Arafat. That is the day God, the hadith of the Prophet says, when the sun sets on Arafat, it will set with all of your sins. That's it. So that is the most important day of the Hajj. That's why that is a day of dua. That's a day of begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will all be performing the dua. One of the beautiful du'as I recommend everyone to go over from now is dua Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arafah. Listen to it. Read it. Read a page a day. Try to understand the meanings, the way Imam al-Hussein spoke to Allah. We recite the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein as well on the day of Arafat, and we do the a'mal of Arafat. They're all in du'as.org. You could look it up under Arafat or in Mafatih al-Jinan. And then at night, that night we all have to go to Muzdalifah. So we're coming back to Mecca. Between Arafat and Mina is Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is Al-Mash'ar al-Haram. That is where we collect the pebbles, and that is where we sleep under the sky. That's it. There's no tents over there because there's no sun. So they just say, Yalla, you guys you go, and if you find a bathroom, Alhamdulillah. So no, in the past, there was really no bathrooms. Like you see people behind the mountain or on the mountain. Now, alhamdulillah, they've built a lot more bathrooms. So each area, there's bathrooms. You might have to wait for like 10, 15 minutes in line, but that's, you're only there until you sleep that night there, and then from Fajr until sunrise. After sunrise, as soon as sunrise, we carry our ammo, which is our pebbles that we've collected. And then we start walking to where? To Mina. And we go to the Jamarat. We go to the stoning of the shaitan. We do the stoning of the shaitan. Then we go to the tent. They have a tent for us in Mina. We go to the tent in Mina. There in Mina, we're going to wait until they tell us they slaughtered your sheep. They slaughtered your sheep. Days before, we're going to find a group of people. I already spoke with Sheikh Fuad about this. There's some Shi'as, followers of the Ahl Bayt. We give them, each person, the price of one sheep. I asked them, what's the price? He said, I don't know right now. Maybe 150, 200, 250. So that's cash you have to bring with you. We give each person, I come and I tell him, I give you wakala to slaughter a sheep. Before, people used to do it on their own in Mina. Now they don't allow it. So you have to give basically permission for someone to slaughter on your behalf. Once they call us on the day of Eid, the 10th of the Hajj, they call us and they tell us they did your dhabh, they did your slaughtering for each person. Then we pull out the blades. And the men, first timers, if they want, of course, depending on what their marja says, it's mustahab. All of them, they say mustahab to go with the blade, or you trim it. And then, or you could do taqsir. If it's your second or third time, you're allowed to do taqsir if it's after the first time. That night, we have to stay in Mina half of the night. And the next night, or the next day in the morning, we do rami again, stoning again, on the 11th of the Hajj. And on the 12th of the Hajj, we have to do stoning again. So we keep coming back and forth to Mina. And at night, we have to spend half the night in Mina, either from Maghrib until midnight or midnight until Fajr. There's the 10th at night and the 11th at night. The 12th at Dhuhr time, Hajj is over. This is what you need to do in Mina. What you need to do in Mecca is one tawaf, Salat al-Tawaf, one sa'i. This is Tawaf al-Hajj and the sa'i. And everyone, married or not married, you're planning on getting married, whatever you need to do, everyone needs to do the last tawaf, and that is Tawaf al-Nisa. And that is what makes you able to get married or halal upon your wife or the wife upon the husband once again after you've entered into the state of Ihram. So this was just a very quick rundown. Next week we're going to talk about Medina. I'm going to explain Salat al-Layl because we're going to go an hour, 2 hours before Fajr. We're all going to go. We're going to pray Salat al-Layl. We're going to attend the Jama'ah prayer. Then after that we go to the Baqi'. I'm going to explain everything and how to prepare for the Umrah and what are the muharramat. So I know a lot of us have a lot of questions, but I'm going to explain all of this, inshallah, in the next session. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Some people asked, if you want to buy a sleeping bag, or you want to, if you buy anything, you buy something very small that fits in a backpack. When we go to Arafat, Muzdalifah, Mina, you can't take a roller bag. Because as soon as they see you, the authorities see you in Mina pulling a roller bag, they're going to take it away from you. Because these roller bags, they caused stampedes in the past. And they caused people to trip over them, and people would die as a result of these. Because people are camping and they're pulling, and then there's one person trips over it and you find 500 people trip over it. They don't allow roller bags. You take a backpack, or you take a small drawstring bag, you put your phone charger, you put the basic necessities, maybe one person or several of the guys bring a machine to shave, and that's it. That's all you need. Maybe some money, your phone, that's all that you need. A prayer mat, maybe, the turba, subha. Yes, sister.
So according to the Shia app, the 12th of the Hajj should be Monday the 9th. And we're expected to leave the 14th. What do we do in those?
So here, no, one question someone just asked online as well. What if my marja says Eid is tomorrow and Saudi Arabia is telling us today you go? What do we do in this case? Here, the Quran says, وَأَفِيضُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَفَاضَ النَّاسِ. Meaning the ifada, meaning when you go the way the people go. That's it. In this issue, it's not in our control. Some scholars, they say, in this issue, like Sayyid Sistani says, no, ihtiyat wujubi, you go, you do the day of Arafat, the day I'm saying it's the day of Arafat. But the day he's saying is Arafat is the day that is the day of Eid, for example. It's the day after. So in this issue, I'm going to remind everyone when we're there, if you follow some maraja that are strict in this issue, we follow another marja. He says ihtiyat. He's not giving fatwa. He's saying ihtiyat. So when he says ihtiyat, you could follow another marja in this case, in this issue. What was your did I answer your question or?
It's okay. So Dhul Hajj, the 12th, that's when we go back to Mecca and we perform our final tawaf. 12th of Dhul Hajj.
So we might perform our tawaf al-hajj and tawaf al-nisa and the sa'i on the day of Eid at night.
So let's
If the group was not tired, because we're going to have rested from the Maghrib all the way until midnight. Then we go to Mecca, we could get some of the things out of the way. Do one of the tawaf. If we were tired, we'll do it the next day. But we'll try to get it done by 12th noon. We'll try to have done everything. Unless maybe one person cannot enter into the masjid. By the way, if the sisters, they know that maybe on the 12th or after Arafat, they cannot enter into the masjid, they're allowed to bring forward their a'mal. So before we go to Arafat, she would enter into the state of ihram, do the tawaf, do the sa'i and tawaf an-nisa, and then go to Arafat. But everyone else, we do that after the Hajj.
So my question was, worst case scenario, it's going to be June 10th, like that's pushing it.
Yes.
So what are we doing from the 10th to the 14th? What a'mal are wajib?
Once you've done the tawaf and the sa'i and tawaf an-nisa, you don't have anything else left. Shopping qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. Yes. If you're done, you're able to fly home earlier. But are you going to find tickets to fly out? Because everyone wants to fly out. When they're done, everyone says, get me out of here, including me. But you're not going to find tickets. So you just might as well do the shopping qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. A group I was speaking to today, they said that's when, if you want to go and stay closer to the haram, go and find a hotel over there. You'll find a lot cheaper rates at that time, if you wanted to. And if you didn't, then that's also okay.
Why did they pre-book them so long? Why did they
Because the packages that have you leaving right after on the 12th or the 13th, they were a lot more expensive. You're paying like $5,000-$6,000 more to be getting out more. The flights, those are in higher demand. They keep you 2 days later, it's a lot cheaper. So the package, that's how this package was kind of bad. We had to deal with it. So
So the hotel we're staying in is a 3-star hotel?
So we're staying in the standard hotel. I believe it. I'll send you guys the pictures of it. It looks like it's a decent hotel. Inshallah, we'll make the best out of it. At the end of the day, brothers and sisters, remember we're going to Hajj. We're going. It's a form of ibadah, and if you have extra money to spend it on a good cause. This is over there. They're just, these corporations. They're going to take this money and what? You're just because of 3 days, 4 days. I mean, if I don't want to discourage anyone, if you have the money and you want to spend, ahlan wa sahlan. But remember that this is an act of worship. On the eve of the 8th, we directly go to Arafat tent, not the Mina tent first. No, we're not going to go to Mina. We're going to go directly to Arafat. Okay. So, inshallah, any other questions we will discuss later. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد. You know how to stop it?